Evolve Beyond Borders is proud to introduce Max van der Klispersink, Senior Global Payroll Manager at Zoom. Max is an industry-renowned speaker and author with over 15 years of experience. He was a recipient of the Global Payroll Visionary Award from the American Payroll Association. Let's welcome Max as he shares his insights on delivering a global payroll experience now and then.
But yeah, delivering a global payroll experience, and I see a lot of global payroll people here. It's the 19th. If you run a payroll cycle monthly, you're probably hoping that when you get home, you can approve a few more payrolls. So keep that in the back of your mind. All right, I'll skip the agenda. But what we're talking about today is a global payroll experience, and in the words of Anita, beyond a payslip. What does it actually mean? Well, think about all the interactions you have with your workforce, the one-off and the cumulative interactions you have with your workforce and your stakeholders. It's not just a payslip. It's not just a GL file that you might give to your GL team, if you're fortunate enough that you don't have to do that yourself, like me. So it's beyond the accurate and timely payroll. What do you think of an experience? I always ask my wife, who hates numbers and who hates payroll, except for a nice payslip. She thinks my first payslip, when I join my company, needs to be right and what I was promised by HR. And whenever I have a question, I should be answered immediately. Like immediately. Because if I run Netflix and it's buffering for 3 seconds, I will go to HBO Max. I dislike Netflix. Think about that when you're delivering a global payroll experience to my son, who's 3 years old, and in 20 years' time will have switched 16 jobs. So what I like to use is a moments that matter approach, which is a little bit, well, borrowed from the HR folks who have been working on the employee experience for years, who is reporting into HR. Who is reporting into HR? Have you heard of the employee experience? All right, yes. Who's part of finance? Okay, you've not heard of the employee experience. Oh no, jokes aside, jokes aside. Okay, so if you take a moment that matters approach, and if you would not go into a room or of course a Zoom meeting to discuss what those moments are, what if you would reach out to the business and to the workforce to say, hey, what moment matters for your life cycle if you think about payroll? It would turn your world around. You might choose a solution that you thought of differently than before. Because yes, running an accurate and timely payroll is a baseline. But if you want to deliver experience, you actually need to connect with the workforce of today and tomorrow and your stakeholders. I gave a few examples here as in the screen, like moments that matter, pay-related questions. Who uses a ticketing system? You have an SLA. I will respond within an X amount of hours. I use certain common language, not like, dear Max van der Klispersink, I have received your question about your payslip. I will now like to inform you about our SLA. You will get a response within 1 day, and you will get an answer within 3 days. If not, you can escalate to my manager. That doesn't work anymore. Yeah? So we don't submit tickets, we don't wait. In the future, we will have an instant answer, and it's in the not so near future. A pay date, let's face it, earned wage access is great, but who actually implemented it? Okay, so not a lot of people yet, but it might come, and you might need to think about it in future. Because again, my son, oh, he doesn't know it yet, boss, but he's referred to a lot. He would like to get his money when he wants to buy his new stuff. He wants it. So think about it. And what I like most is user interfaces. Who has written quick reference guides of how to submit a ticket or go into a payroll system to make a change? Yeah? We don't want to do that anymore. If you have a new iPhone or an Android phone, you don't need to read a manual to know how to use it. The same would be how you would interact with payroll. It should be intuitive. That's going to change. Country entries, of course, we used to plan, and I worked at a very big energy company who I shall not name, who has a Pectin as a, yeah, okay, that company. We used to plan ahead for a very long time. If everybody's seen The Lord of the Rings, you might know the Ents. It has been, yes, they take a long time to make a decision. Now it's, we go to a new country. Think about how you can support payroll if your manager or HR, the business comes, tomorrow we're going to another 10 countries. Are you ready? Of course, wrong guy will say, call me, right? We'll do it for you. But will you be ready? So what we need to think about is a mindset switch. We need to go from what can we deliver, that's what we deliver, to what does the workforce and business wants us to deliver, and that's what we're going to deliver. Because we always think about our own processes, how can we optimize a calendar, a pay slip, harmonize pay codes, GL codes, which is all great and it serves a purpose. But what if you would go out to the business and ask them what would they need? I worked for a retail company too before, and I asked to retail managers and those people, what do you need from me? They said, I need calculated hours to calculate my bonuses and to run my team. I don't have that. I said, we're going to deliver that for you. I asked all the people who worked there about their pay slips. I said, do you understand your pay slip? 80% said no. I have no clue. Do you trust us? Not really. Okay, that's a very bad starting position, but together with the team, you solved that. And it was as easy as making codes in the time and attendance systems readable and making sure that they want it. So they want explainable stuff. So don't think about that you know what the workforce wants, because you need to ask them first. But where to go now? I've spent a lot of time making this picture and this visualization. I hope you like it, because it took me like too long. But if you would go back to your company, you go back, okay, I need to now deliver a global payroll experience. This is wonderful, but I don't know where to start. So I thought about 4 levers to pull, which are the ones that I always look at if you look at global payroll. It's people, process, technology, and sourcing. If you would look at that global experience from each of the 4 angles, you would be surprised at what you could actually already change if you first asked the business and the workforce what they would want. Now, I've tried to come up with a few examples that are a bit futuristic, but also live examples. And let's start with people. And let's start with the payroll people, because who is contacted for a new payroll job almost every week on LinkedIn? Yeah, so we're high in demand. So you also need to make sure that you have the best technology in place and the best process to make sure that the payroll people, maybe part of this room, want to work with you. They don't want to work with processes, systems, and a manager that works still in the Stone Age. You want to move away. I'm not looking at anyone in particular, by the way. I'm trying to not look at someone. But you want to make sure that you're also very attractive. You do that by having a great partner, a great set of tools, technology to make sure you're attractive. But also, everybody is unique, and everybody wants a personalized attention. Even when I started in payroll in 2006, people were accepting that they say, do I need to give you my employee ID? I said, yes, please, and they knew their employee ID. Well, nowadays, they just want you to know them inside out and to help them immediately. So think about how you're going to solve that with your payroll processes, your technology, and your team. Yeah, and I should be able to work from anywhere and get the job done. We used to go to the office. I also used to go to the office. I will never do that anymore. What's an office? You know, if I ask my son again, where do we work? Upstairs. Like, okay, that's how he's going to grow up, work upstairs. And to be able to do that, as you know, the payroll professionals and HR professionals, that's very difficult because we think about, oh no, compliance, tax, income tax, people are moving. Where do you work? I need to track you. Yes, you should, but why don't you find a partner that can enable you to make sure that, yes, everybody can work from home and you're still compliant? Then you're an enabler for the business, because if they come like, okay, I have this sales guy, it's amazing. He works in whatever country, but we don't have a payroll. You say, well, I can make it work. And yes, they can travel 30 days there, 30 days there, as long as they either complete a calendar or we have an app, an API or whatever. Make sure you're an enabler. And they don't go to payroll the last, we're always the last to hear. We should be the first to enable instead of the last to hear, because they shouldn't have to think about payroll, because they know payroll has it covered. Payroll can support. We don't even need to ask them. Okay, that never happened, but it might happen in future. Yeah. Okay, if we think about process-driven, and I like the second one the most, because that's actually what an employee recently said to me. It doesn't matter to me how you execute your process. Just get it done. And first, of course, I was agitated, but at the end I think, yeah, you're right. It shouldn't matter. Like if we issue new financial reports or quarterly releases, we don't care how the GL posts GL it or the reporting guys. We just look at what it does to the stock price, right? So it doesn't matter. So think outside in. Don't think about your processes. Think about the workforce and how you can enable them. And I like the last one too. Who asks you for reports from your global payroll system? Everyone. Right? You still rely on that one export button to Excel so you can do your magic. What if, in future, you could just do payroll analytics as a service? You could give your FP&A folks and talent acquisition people in a tool like Niamo, I'll plug you, of course, Ranga, that you could give someone access to the calculated payroll data. That's intuitive. Then they ask you for a report. You say, no, pull the data yourself. Of course, you will have GDPR, you will have removed all the personal identifiable data, but that's not what they want. They want to run analytics. And what if you could even run analytics in a country you're not in yet? Just do calculations. Then you would become an enabler as payroll. And as we've seen from Ranga and also Anita, that technology exists. But I think, personally, what our biggest downfall is as global payroll, we always deliver. Regardless of the tools, of the finance, and we always deliver. Therefore, it prevents us from not challenging the status quo, not changing. But I think we need to become part of the solution, not part of the problem. So if we not evolve, not beyond borders, but if we not evolve, I think we will lose against other divisions. So we need to change. And that's scary. I find it scary myself too, because let's just run a pay slip, our pay cycle. But we do need to change.
The other thing I've seen, Max, is about, if the payroll is not broken, not fixed. So that's the approach.
Correct.
It's working. If you have to change to something that what you're saying, then it takes a lot of effort.
Exactly.
Humans doesn't change, but with the new set of people like your son coming to work, you've got to get this.
Yeah, if it's not broken, then it's not fixed. But most of the times we don't know if it's broken. Because broken for us typically means we don't pay or we don't deliver a pay slip. But when we do that all the time, but is it the actual experience you would want to deliver to the workforce? You could perceive it then as being broken. Oh, technology. Okay, I surround myself with a lot of tech folks, and I'm not tech, I'm payroll, so I find myself on slippery grounds. But okay, I heard, I think someone say, your son, I don't want to talk to a person anymore, which made everyone laugh, but it's got to be the future. And we used to think that there's a workforce that actually cares, like, okay, don't get me the chatbot. The first thing I will say to the chatbot, can I speak to a real person? And the chatbot says, no, I'll try to answer you. Okay, what do I need to say to get to a real person, right? That's going to change, and it's already changing. So make sure that you adopt that change. And yes, natural language processing helps, because people do speak English, but who lives in the Netherlands and is not from the Netherlands? We all speak English to you, don't we? So you don't learn Dutch. Yeah. So it's a bit like this. Speak in your own language. What if you could ask your questions to payroll in your local language that you're in, and you will actually learn your language through payroll? That would be awesome. The other thing is, something that I haven't seen yet, but maybe the Niamo team can correct me if I'm wrong. What if you could see actual payroll calculations and simulations based on your own election choices? I had a person 2 months ago said, I'm thinking about a divorce. I said, okay. Okay. I said, I don't have any advice on that matter. I said, but yeah, payroll-wise, okay, payroll-wise, yes, it could mean, like a different tax credit or whatsoever. But then I thought, what if they would have a system that can pre-calculate what would it do with my personal finances if I would make, and then maybe a nicer example, I would get a new son, I'm giving birth, it's a nicer example, or I would get a pay raise, something nice, and they could actually calculate their own elections. It would save us a lot of questions, but it would also make us an enabler again for someone to actually manage their own personal finances. Yeah, we said on-demand pay, flexible pay cycles. So I'm also a bit of a scary payroll person that says, okay, everybody can take draws from their net pay while we haven't paid yet. We're going to overpay them. That's going to result in a negative pay. But maybe not. Maybe it actually works. And if we wait for the governments, then the next 100 years they would have not found a solution to do that because they don't like those cycles. They like the structures of it. What if it would be there? What if we would adopt it? What if you would ask your salespeople, you could draw from your earned commissions and not have to wait a month or whatever your cycles would be? What if they could draw from only those type of variable pay? I think we would be an enabler. Moving to the last lever. It's almost cocktail time. Bear with me. Sorry, virtual people. For Amsterdam, it is almost cocktail time. For sourcing, now this is almost a wrapper around the other three, because you can source people, go to Bart. You can source technology, go to Ranga. Source processes, sorry, you have to really do that yourself. But sourcing, and this is something I've been saying for the past, I think, 10 years. Hybrid is the one-size-fits-all. Gezondheid. I'll speak in Dutch to you, gezondheid. Hybrid is the one-size-fits-all. We used to say we're going to either do it in-house, we're going to do it outsourced. No, everybody now recognizes we need to tailor it. And if you would tailor it, you would say, well, if we, for instance, say 1 to 10 employees, we would always keep on EOR or PEO because we want to be flexible. If it goes above that, we want to maybe create an entity. We want to do a long-tail payroll. We're going to choose a different provider. Once it reaches 1,000 employees, we might want to do it in-house. That's when you become hybrid. And when the business comes to you, says, okay, what do you want to do in the country? You want to hire? You want to start small? We have a solution for you. You want to immediately do an entity? We also have a solution for you. And we run the numbers from one single analytical platform. And I used to give these presentations where that was futuristic, but it's already there. We're just not catching up. And we need to. We really need to. Okay, we can expand anywhere, anytime. We already did that. Smart sourcing, hybrid technology, self-service, multi-currency, multi-period. That's all done. All right. So in summary, and this is my call to action for you, think outside in. Understand what the experience is that the workforce and the business demands. And then try to review how your current payroll setup is and find the gaps. You might then find yourself going for a glass of wine, but maybe the next day you get a coffee, you get started, get some funding. Because if you get the workforce behind you, you'll get your funding. Because typically payroll funding is also an issue. But what if the business helps you fund it? What if the workforce helps you fund it? In the war for talent, payroll becomes a game changer. Then you have a seat at the table, or at least your function has a seat at the table. As to understand those 4 levers, you can think of others, but if you don't know where to start with process, people, technology, and sourcing. And it will make you challenge that status quo. And I used to say global payroll is an evolution, another revolution, but we also cannot take too long to evolve. So maybe think about it, the time is now. Thank you.